In our last tutorial, we checked out a book through Libby. So we're actually going to read it within the Libby app. So we are here on our shelf. This is the record of all the books we have checked out, ebooks or audiobooks through Libby. Here we have The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. That's what we checked out in our last tutorial. And if I'm ready to start reading, I can go ahead and tap on the cover. The most recent thing that you've read also shows up in the circle in between library and shelf at the bottom of the screen as well. So that's kind of a shortcut to get you back into the book. So I'll tap on that circle and it opens up my reading interface. You can tap either on the right hand side of the screen to move forward, just like you were turning a page. Or if you want to go back a page, maybe you missed something, you want to double check something, you can tap to the left and it will take you back. So when we open it up, or if I'm reading along and realize, wait, I want to change something about how the book looks, I can tap in the center and it brings up this frame around it where I can make my changes. So this first option with our lines up toward the top right hand corner, that chooses if we want 1 column or 2 columns of text. We can also go to the A, and that allows us to choose the overall size of our font. That's one of the big advantages of ebooks, is you don't have to get a large print copy, for example. You can actually customize the size of your font to your preferences. So I can drag this to the right and make it larger. I can make it smaller too. I have an option to change the lighting as well. So right now we're on bright. That means it's a white page with black text. If you're reading in kind of a darker room, maybe you don't want that stark white background, you can choose a sepia tone, so that kind of warms up the page. Or if you're a fan like me of dark mode, you can always go to dark where it inverts the color so it's a black background with white text. Sometimes that's a little bit easier for people to read. But we'll go back to bright just for now because that's the default. That's what you'll see a lot of. And we can actually choose what font the book is written in as well. So right now we are going with the publisher default. That's probably generally the best idea unless you have very strong preferences about your font. But we could choose something like legible, and we can see a preview up here of how that's going to change. Scholar, so that's going to be a sans serif font, one without the little kind of tags on the ends of each letter. Paperback is a serif font. It has those little tails on the letters, but it looks a little bit different than legible did. There's also Open Dyslexic. So this is a font that their indications help people with dyslexia to be able to read more easily. Or if you have a preference, if you know your font types, you can even go to a custom typeface. Another nice thing about Libby is it will remember your preferences here across all of the different books that you check out. So you can kind of pick it once, choose your preferences. It'll remember from here on out. I'm going to be boring though. I'm just going to go back to our publisher default. We can hide this appearance section. And let's check out what else we have. We also, right next to our A icon, we have the search box. That's another nice thing about ebooks. You can't really search a physical book unless you have a really, really good index, but we can search within an ebook copy to find specific words or phrases. We can also add bookmarks and highlights to our book. So this actually gives us some instructions when we tapped on that bookmark icon. To place a bookmark, you can tap the top right corner of the page. And to create a highlight, you can actually tap and hold a word and then swipe left to right. Kind of like if you highlighted in a textbook. Now, one thing to note with bookmarks, you don't have to mark your place every single time you stop reading. The Libby app, really any e-reader, is going to remember where you left off. This is just if you want to kind of save a really important passage that you want to come back to later on, or maybe a favorite section. Finally, we do have some kind of navigation options down at the bottom. It lets us know approximately how many pages we're in to this particular book. This is going to change based off the size of the font and how much spacing you put between lines and things like that. But this is approximately 666 pages, and we're only 7 to 8 pages in. We can actually skip ahead by chapter or just kind of freely by either using this 1-page or 3-page skips to get to the next chapter, or we can also use this kind of scroll bar across the bottom. The thicker lines indicate where there are chapter breaks, so you can get an idea of how large these sections are when you're reading. But if I wanted to move ahead, I could just drag this, and now I'm in probably chapter 3 or so on kind of a random different page. Now, if you do that accidentally, or if you scrolled back to double check information and want to go to where you had just left off, Libby will remember that as well. So it remembered that I was on page 7 and 8 a couple of minutes ago. If I want to go back to that, I can always tap on that back arrow and it will take me back to where I was. We also have recent places, so that's this little fingerprint. If I tap on that, it remembers where I actually have been within the book. So if I'm skipping ahead, skipping back and forth, I can see all of the different places that I've been. To get out of the book entirely, you can tap in the center and go to this back option up toward the top left-hand corner, and we're back to our shelf. Thanks for watching, and check out the rest of our video tutorials.